I actually work in the sciences as well, and I just know all of the benefits of stem cells and stem cell research. And I think that it's kind of like an insurance policy to have. God forbid anything happened to any of us or our children in the future. I'd rather be safe than sorry and rather have that option to be able to utilize a different, utilize stem cell therapy for whatever is wrong. Also, obviously our husbands are in high risk professions and they have a higher chance of needing the stem cells as well. And just the fact that, again, there's so many different things that you can utilize the stem cells for, and, the power that they have, I just think that it's really important to have them. Again, as an insurance policy, hopefully you never need them. And
Gabrielle and Elijah, how about you? What was it about newborn stem cell banking that piqued your interest?
I would say, I agree with everything Steph says. The biggest thing is Elijah just had surgery back in May. And he was great. He got cleared. He played a couple of games and he got hurt again. So I think the biggest thing is, like, we know that you guys are doing a bunch of clinical trials on injuries. They're very prone to injuries. I would love to talk more about like CTE and like brain injuries, because I know obviously they are more prone to that, and that's always a concern. So I know when I'd spoken to Rebecca previously, she had mentioned that is also, they can help with brain injuries. I'd love to learn more about it, but those were definitely the main reasons why we wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting. Certainly when we think about newborn stem cell banking, there's sort of the indications that people are really familiar with, things that are like leukemias, lymphomas, blood disorders, those sort of things where you're using the newborn stem cells in the setting of a stem cell transplant. And then there's this whole other category that is very distinct, and you're not necessarily using the stem cells to treat conditions of the blood and immune system, where you're using them in a regenerative medicine application, so outside the blood and immune system. And what I think is really cool is if you actually look at the cord blood units, the newborn stem cell units that we've released, and there's over 600 that we've released, 80% of those have been in these sort of other regenerative medicine applications, and they are for the vast majority are for some sort of neurological indications. And so, since we're right now, a lot of those have been in clinical trials for pediatric indications, including like cerebral palsy, autism, acquired hearing loss. But as you kind of broaden that and take a little bit of a step back, and you think about the sort of additional kind of conditions that may be applicable, I think as you think about neurological injury, one of the things that we see is that a component of neurological injury can be an inflammatory response, and that the body has a way of protecting itself through an inflammatory response, which is good. But if that inflammatory response lasts too long or is hyper responsive, then that can actually be detrimental. And so one of the things that is that we're seeing in the studies that are coming out is that the newborn stem cells, one of the ways they may be acting is actually to sort of dampen that neural inflammation. And by dampening that neural inflammation, it can mitigate some of those detrimental effects. So I think the research is really exciting. It's certainly really interesting. Thinking outside of neurological injury. I think obviously as professional sports people, you're thinking about all sorts of different injuries. And we see that same theme kind of running throughout. And so I think that there are a lot of injuries where the body's natural response to kind of initiate this inflammatory cascade, it's great, but sometimes it can be overactive. To me, that's a really unique opportunity that really, it's a newborn. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity for that newborn. And, we spoke a little bit about, siblings and stuff like that. And, knowing that the baby's always 100% match for their own stem cells. But there's always a possibility that they're a match to their sibling. There's a 75% chance that they're at least a partial match to their sibling. They're always a 50% match to their parent. And so when you just think about that, that's a great, resource to have. And hopefully nobody ever needs it, but it is good to have there when, hopefully you don't, but yeah, it's good to have there.